The Bad Batch Season 1. Now, this is actually a show that I actually had more fun than I should have. I really enjoy this show. It basically is Season 8 of the Clone Wars, except it's more focused on the Bad Batch, like what the show says. And it's cool, it actually expands the characters in more ways than I originally thought, because, yes, Season 7 arc that introduced the Bad Batch was good. It was mainly because you had the legacy characters like Anakin, Rex. You know, they're kind of carrying everything. The Bad Batch are more side characters. So to have something like a show completely based off these side characters, I didn't know how well it would have gone, but this show is a blast. Honestly, I would recommend it if you watch the Clone Wars. It's probably the only negative I can give this show, that you have to watch the Clone Wars first, because there's so many references to that show and so many characters introduced that makes it kind of like a necessary thing to do first, which is kind of the only downside I can give the show. Something that I didn't expect from watching The Bad Batch is how much I would like Omega. That's how you say her name, Omega. I like her. She's this little girl in this cloning facility, which I like. She's basically the Ahsoka of the show. Pretty much a new character that we, the audience, can relate to. You know, kind of put ourselves in her shoes, you could say. That's kind of the position that she fills, and I like her. Now, a complaint that I have is, well, it's more like a nitpick. It doesn't bother me as much as other people did, because before I watched the show, people said that Omega, like in the second half of the Season 1, is very bossy. Like, she basically becomes the leader of the group, and yeah, she does. Which is kind of, like, annoying, but, it didn't bother me as much. It didn't really. To me, it kind of made sense. You know, I feel like it feels like a character arc in the making. Like with Season 1 with Ahsoka, she was very annoying and childish, but as the series went on, or as the Clone Wars went on, she became more mature. I feel like that's what's going to happen with future seasons of the Bad Batch, that Omega's going to become more like learning lessons along the way. Because I think what's happening now is that Omega doesn't understand, like, how things work. Because it's very clear that she's been on Kamino this entire time, like, the Clone Wars have been going on. Like, she's been there from, like, the start, because she is, like, an unmodified clone. She's a clone, a female clone. Weird, I know. And the only other unmodified clone there is Boba Fett, so technically, Omega is, like, Boba Fett's sister, which is kind of cool. Overall, I like everyone in the Bad Batch. I mean, everyone is likable. Another complaint that I heard before watching this is that only, like, Hunter and Wrecker get, like, character arcs and get their characters explored. And I get that, but with Tech and Echo, they are pretty much part of the show as well. They have a lot to do in it. Granted, their characters aren't explored. I think that's what people wanted in the show, but maybe that'll happen in future seasons. But with Season 1, they're pretty good in the show. They're pretty useful and helpful, and deliver, you know, comedic lines and all. They're funny characters. All of them are great characters and work as a great team. I like how the show kind of just, from the very moment from the Clone Wars that they're introduced in there, they always worked as a team. You know, as just a good team. They're not doing that whole, we're all, like, kind of doing our little things and we're not really working as a team together, but they don't do that, because they've already seen it in the Clone Wars. They moved past that. Well, except for Crosshair, he's a villain, or somewhat. I don't know. I like how they leave his story unclear. Like, in the final shot that shows Crosshair, I like how they kind of left him there. Like, I know that they had to, because, like, he wasn't getting on the ship, but I mean, like, they kind of left him there. Like, does he have anyone to call, like the Empire? Like, is the Empire gonna call him to pick him up, or is he just stuck there on that small platform? But whatever. It was a actual powerful ending for those characters. Like, those characters, in terms of the story that was presented in Season 1, it lended it more to side adventures than, let's just say, The Mandalorian. Like, with The Mandalorian, it was like, these side adventures kind of feel like filler episodes, but in The Bad Batch, they don't. Now, I'm not saying it's because it's animated and it's meant for kids that these side missions don't really do anything. They actually have an impactful part of the story, because they meet a lot of people in these side missions, and it helps them out, because the whole point of The Bad Batch is the Bad Batch themselves. You know, I feel like as more the show progresses, the mystery of who Omega is and how the Bad Batch came to be does get revealed, but at the same time, you don't really need it to be revealed, because you know they're defective clones. You know, Omega's part of this Camino thing, this kind of Camino web interlock thing with all the Kaminoans and Empire. So it's like, we do learn as the show progresses why she's important, but it's not like a necessary thing. All you need to know is that she is this important asset to the Empire and the Kaminoans. She is basically like Grogu. Omega is the Grogu of the show, except she's much older. Well, she's younger than Grogu, but she can talk, and is useful. And I like her accent. I don't know, I like New Zealand accents. But they all work well together. D. Bradley Baker did a good job of voicing like 90% of this show. Like, it's insane how well he made every single clone unique. From the legacy clones that we saw in the Clone Wars to the Bad Batch. Like, everyone sounded just unique and different. With that all being said, where do I rank the Bad Batch Season 1? The Bad Batch Season 1 goes above Mandalorian Season 2, but below Return of the Jedi. I originally had it above Return of the Jedi, but I decided to put it below it, because I really thought to myself, why would I put it above an original trilogy film? Like, it didn't emotionally impact me that bad. Like, yes, I emotionally relate to these characters, but it's not like the story made me kind of like it didn't give me like an emotional impact like the Clone Wars seasons have and the films have. But that's not to say it's bad. The Bad Batch is a good show right now, because there's only one season out, but it's a good show, and I recommend you watch it if you watched the Clone Wars already. Do you agree or disagree with my rankings? I don't know. I feel like some people don't like the Bad Batch. Some people love it. I feel like it's one of those things where it's basically Season 8 of the Clone Wars, so you pretty much should just watch it with the Clone Wars itself. Honestly, that's kind of what the identity of the show is right now, just the Clone Wars extended, because they had to rename it, because we're not in the Clone Wars anymore, so they had to rename it. So the Bad Batch overall by itself is really good, but with the Clone Wars, it actually does flow really well. Like, really well, actually. They probably did the Season 7 and the Bad Batch back to back, which is probably what Disney wanted. Disney wanted the Bad Batch to be made first, and so they did it, and it paid off well, because the Bad Batch is a good show, so go watch it. I'm actually going to stop talking so you can go watch it if you have Disney Plus. So I'm going to go now, so goodbye everyone.